Hello, everyone. My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about a novel called The Mysterious Affair at Styles, written by Agatha Christie. Now, before I go into the summary and explanation of this novel, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and/or leave a comment so that the channel can continue to grow. Now, Agatha Christie knows how to write a great mystery murder novel. This novel really keeps you at the edge of your seat. You really don't know what's going to happen, and you really don't know who commits the murder in the end. So, before I go into the summary, to the complete summary, I'm just going to give you a list of the characters that appear within this work. We have Emily Englethorpe, we have Alfred Englethorpe, we have John Cavendish, we have Lawrence Cavendish, we have Mary Cavendish, we have Miss Howard, we also have Cynthia Murdoch. These are some of the people that live at Styles, this mansion, this huge and impressive mansion. We also have a visitor to Styles by a name. He's also our narrator. His name is Arthur Hastings. And then we have Hercule Poirot that plays a significant part within this work. So these are the pretty much the characters that that come up most often within the novel. There's other investigators and other people from Scotland Yard that appear within this novel, but the people I've listed are extremely important and they pretty much provide the majority of the things that appear within this work. So, in the get go, what happens is Emily Englethorpe, she gets murdered, and we don't know who murdered her. Several people get accused of this. First of all, John Cavendish and Lawrence Cavendish, they are stepsons of Emily Englethorpe. Emily Englethorpe was married to their father, Mr. Cavendish, but he passed away, and he was so in love with Emily Englethorpe that he left her pretty much all of his money and his mansion. And so John and Lawrence Cavendish, they're kind of like at the mercy of Emily Englethorpe, their stepmother, because she has the power of the purse. She pulls the string of the purse. And so they pretty much live off of her and the money that her husband left her. Now, of course, the sons do have some, they're not really happy that their father left all of his money to their stepmother. But at the same time, when their father died, they were well into their adult years. They've could have, they have, they had several chances to go out, get a career for themselves, and make their own money. But within the novel, what we learned is they just wanted their father's money. They wanted their father's assets, and they didn't really want to go out and do things for themselves. Lawrence had skills, and he even went to go study medicine, but he doesn't stick with it. He later chooses to pursue a career in literature that doesn't really go anywhere. And John Cavendish, he doesn't really do anything that special either. So they just stay at Styles and mooch off of Emily Englethorpe. So at first, so they're kind of thought to be the individuals who killed Emily Englethorpe, and there's an investigation that goes on. What we find out in the novel is that Emily Englethorpe is killed, but she's killed by something called strychnine. Strychnine is this thing that can be very lethal, but if you take it in small dosages, it can't kill you. But if you take it in large dosage, of course, it has the ability to kill you. So that's how they determined that she died. They determined that she died with strychnine, but they don't know who did it. At first, of course, they kind of blame Lawrence because he's a doctor. He probably knows these things. They think that the brothers did it because they have the most to gain. The will that Emily Englethorpe had, the brothers were going to benefit from that will because if she died, she was going to leave them money. But the investigators first believe that the brothers were the individuals that tried to kill or that killed Emily Englethorpe. So the investigation goes on. They look into the brothers, but what they can't connect um, they can't connect the murder to them. And there's several ways that the murder was going to be connected to them. The main reason why it's because Miss Howard and Alfred Englefort were trying to set the brothers up for murder. Now, the reason why, here's the big spoiler here, it's Alfred Englethorpe and Miss Howard who killed Emily Englethorpe. But this does not look to be the truth because they tried to cover all of their tracks so that this would not be led to them. Um, for instance, I'm going to bring this up. Miss Howard and Alfred Englethorpe, throughout the majority of the novel, they pretended that they absolutely hated each other, when in fact they are in the same family. So they pretended that they hated each other, but in the background, they were planning to kill Alfred Englethorpe's wife. Alfred Englethorpe was trying to kill his own wife, and he killed his own wife. He tried to blame it on his wife's stepsons. So this goes on for a while, and what happens is Arthur Hastings, the narrator of the story, of course, he calls in Hercule Poirot, a good friend of his, and he's like, Poirot, we need some investigative work done here to figure out who killed Emily Englethorpe. So Poirot comes in, and really like he's really like Sherlock Holmes, of course. I really think there's a lot of similarities between Sherlock Holmes and Hercule Poirot. So Hercule Poirot comes in, he's looking over the evidence, and he comes in really quickly after the murder. It's not something that spans over months. Right after the murder, he comes in really quickly, and he starts investigating. Hercule Poirot, he doesn't really reveal anything to us. He's just gathering things. He's gathering evidence. He's putting things together. Um, Later in the novel, we kind of put together. He puts together that it's not John Cavendish or Lawrence Cavendish guilty, or even Mary Cavendish, who was having some secret, meetings with Dr. Ballestein, another character in the novel. There's many characters in the novel, guys, but I can't cover every single detail of these characters because the novel really tries to throw you in so many different ways to figure out who the murderer is. At first, when you read this novel, you're probably going to think that Mary Cavendish and Dr. Bauerstein had something to do to kill Emily Englethorpe, but the novel is just trying to trick you. They had nothing to do with it, or they were not directly responsible for Emily Englethorpe's murder. The novel does give you some space to think that Lawrence and John Cavendish had something to do with the murder, but no, it's just trying to throw you in another corner to get you kind of confused. The whole time it was Alfred Englethorpe and Miss Howard. They tried to do many things to point the murder to the brothers, but it wasn't the brothers because Hercule Poirot is such a great detective. So the novel goes on. Cynthia Murdoch and Hastings, the narrator, does have a little interesting um, thing between them because Cynthia Murdoch really believed that if Emily Englethorpe was dying or dead, she was going to be homeless, but that was not the case. And there's this funny scene where Hastings proposes to Cynthia so that she wouldn't be, um, you know, on her own and kind of on the street or not um, being provided for. But the Cynthia Murdoch laughs in his face and she walks away from him. And I think that scene within this novel is quite interesting. So the novel goes on, and near the end of the novel, we get something about this last link. So the thing that really solidifies that it's Alfred Englethorpe and Miss Howard that committed this murder is that Alfred Englethorpe wrote this letter to Miss Howard um, about the killing, and he pretty much confesses and reveals that it was him and her that were planning to kill Miss Englethorpe and Hercule Poirot. It took him some time. It took him pretty much the whole novel, but he figures out where Alfred Englethorpe hid this letter. He ripped it into a few pieces, and he hid it. And it took some time for Hercule Poirot to figure out where he hid it. And once he found it, the mystery was solved. It was Alfred Englethorpe who did it. and he was going to take the money, because at one point of the novel, Emily Englethorpe had rewritten the will and put Alfred Englethorpe's name on it, and he was going to benefit from that. He was going to take the money, walk away with it, and pretty much share it with his family member, Miss Howard. So that doesn't happen. Hercule Poirot proves that you know that's not going to happen. That it was them that killed Emily, and Alfred Englethorpe was, really mad, and Miss Howard was really mad because they really did everything to get away with this murder, but it just wasn't meant to be. There's one thing that really come up. There's this question that comes up where Hercule Poirot said that they covered their tracks so well that it was just too clean. It was just too clean. Um, their tracks, because in some point they tried to frame the brothers. They tried to frame the Cavendish family for the murder. John Cavendish. Um, they tried to frame them for the murder, and everything Hercule Poirot just mentions. That just came about too proper, right? That just came about too proper for them to commit the murder. Usually, when you're investigating, things are hard to find, and when they try to frame the brothers or John Cavendish, everything just was right there. And Hercule Poirot wouldn't believe it. He thought there was more to it, and of course there was more to it. The murderers, the true murderers, were just trying to cover him up, put the blame on somebody else, so that they could make it away with the money and pretty much get Styles. Because if Emily Englethorpe dies and she put Alfred Englethorpe's name on her will, he would inherit Styles and all of her money. So that doesn't happen, and the book really ends with Hercule Poirot really explaining to everybody who did the murder, who caused the murder, and pretty much why. So, really interesting novel. It's very fascinating, and again, this novel really kind of throws you here and there because at several points you think different characters committed the murders, but it's really Alfred Englethorpe and Miss Howard. I know I've said this several times. It's because you get really tricked, and this novel does throw you in some corners to trick you up in who did the murders. But those two individuals are the accomplices, are the individuals that killed Emily Englethorpe. That's my summary for the novel, guys. Please leave a like, subscribe, and or leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in my next video.